I'm just gonna make sure I have. All right, I think this is recording. I think it is. Okay. Okay. I think it is. It's live and it says it's recording. We've had issues. I think we're good. All right. So, good evening and welcome to this is the last one. It's the last of the year, the last Lyceum lecture. We've been doing it since May, and it's been quite a interesting experience to say the least from my perspective. And then, as I've sat in the audience listening to everybody participating, seeing who's participating. Again, in the beginning, I like to remind people, what is this Lyceum thing? And it was truly a movement to educate, enlighten, bring people together, kind of flatten things out, and it was all for education, for educational purposes, get community together. And tonight, excuse me, I felt it'd be important for the last one here to talk about how a town actually works. Now, I've been a councilman here for 2 terms. They're ending in the end of this month, and it's been an interesting 6 years, and it's quite an education. You can't read a book or watch a documentary and learn how to do this. You just learn it, and it's municipal government, and it's its own thing, and it's you're learning, constantly learning, and you have to balance a lot of things out, and you've got to always be just focused on government. You are the government. And I felt it'd be important for folks to hear about how it works, but mostly your questions, like what are you curious about as far as that? And tonight I was appreciative of the Mayor Caro was willing to step in, who has a lot of experience, and I won't attempt to rattle off the list of roles she's had. She will be able to do that much better. But the mayor and I have had a fine relationship since we both were elected and had to work together. Me as council president for a time, and now as council vice president. Joe Schmo councilman, right? But it's not nothing. And being an elected official is a huge honor to have people. To see your name on a ballot, and then to have some people you'll never meet, push the button and choose you. That's a huge deal. And it's a tremendous undertaking, and it's a responsibility. And so, the mayor tonight is going to have a lot of things to share and discuss, and any questions you have, feel free. But I wanted to start real quick because, look, the thing with the Lyceum is, you got to have a lecture, right? So I got a little one for you. And as I mentioned, I've been doing this work for about 6 years. Pardon me. And in all those 6 years, I've worked under 2 mayors. If I'm counting correctly, there were 12 other council members throughout. And these were people that, some of you meet for the first time. They're complete strangers. And so you got to figure out how to work together. All right. And it's interesting work. And when you have, one day you have one mayor and then another one, it's like, okay, now we have a whole new administration. How do I adjust? And it's definitely navigating some seas and waters, right? Interestingly enough. So of all the changes and adjustments I've had to make, one thing has remained static. And behind us, this is Borough Hall. And behind us on the dais up there, this painting hangs, Washington's Crossing, right? Washington Crossing in Delaware, technically. So that's always been there for me. And I've always, it's like the first thing you see when you come in. And for me, it's been a constant reminder of like, what is this work? This is history. It's symbolic. And it's actually one of my favorite paintings. And you can actually see it at the Met. And it's this, and it's massive. Okay. The one we have at Borough Hall is just a redoing. All right. But the original is just pretty glorious, highly detailed. And I want to talk about some of those details because when I was in college, actually one of the most interesting classes I took was an art history class. And I had to satisfy some credits, but it was interesting to me because I learned how to like process art. Like I just kind of taken it for granted. And the professor spoke to us about like just kind of break, do this thing and like break the painting up, right? And look at it piece by piece, detail by detail. So this is a really interesting piece because it was actually painted in 1851, all right, not 1776. 1851, almost 100 years later, in Germany, by a German-American artist, Emanuel Lyceum. Thank you. So people are surprised. Like, wait, surely an American? No, that was an immigrant, a German-American immigrant. It was an oil on canvas. This thing is huge, 12 feet by 21 feet, okay? Gigantic. And it's in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And it, of course, depicts Washington leading his Continental Army across the Delaware on the night of December 25th. Well, he's got nothing better to do, right? But this was, what's important to know is this was a part in the war when his army was basically like all morale was lost. People were not signing up, people were leaving. And this was it. They had to cross the Delaware, surprise attack on Hessian soldiers who were known to be brutal and tough, but not as tough as these folks. So this symbolic representation of that, when I read up on this stuff, it's interesting because let's see, my pointer can't really, it's not showing up. But this boat technically is not big enough to carry as many people who are in it, right? And then this flag didn't exist yet, all right? It wasn't made yet. So there's some historical inaccuracies, but that doesn't matter. Because when you look at this painting up close, you obviously see the guy, the man, Washington, and he's the center of it all. And it's very symbolic. I'm always drawn to the ice and, the light and him looking off into the distance. This is a gamble. Like we had to sneak in there. And if this was not a success, that might have been it. All right. But when you look at the people in this boat, this artist wanted to capture the true kind of mix and diversity of this patriot militia movement, whatever, because in Germany in 1848-49, they were dealing with their own idea of revolutions, like this democracy thing. People were like, this is cool, we want to do this too. So the artists want to inspire people, even in Europe, to look and say, look at what these Americans are doing. Look at this. But this was, again, later in the future, this was our past used as inspiration. So when you look at zooming in at some of these characters here, hold up. Oh, you know what? I think the battery died. It's probably about out. Probably about out. Hold on. Minor technical issue. But while I'm hold on. I think that's it. Well, anyway, I'll just do it here. So if I zoom in, and this is the front of the boat, these people, if you look at the details, and again, I was not aware of this until somebody taught me how to do this. Look at how they're dressed. Look at how they represent. Again, the artist wanted to represent our kind of diverse, factions of people. So you see this Scottish bonnet and the clothing. Obviously, this is a militiaman, but kind of was this one of the Scots Irish. Here's a frontiersman-looking guy. He's got the coonskin cap. That's clearly always represented there. And then oftentimes, hello, there's a soldier back here, a revolutionary soldier, an African American. And a lot of people are surprised. They hear, wait, Africans fought in revolution? Yeah, they did. And if you don't believe me, you can go down to the corner of Church Street here, and behind the church, Jacob Francis is buried with his wife, and he was a Revolutionary War soldier, veteran, who lived in Flemington. It's a very fascinating story. So, yeah, that was part of the mix of people who were fighting for democracy, freedom, all that good stuff. And then I look towards the middle here, okay? There's these two guys. And how they're dressed, these are farmers. These are militiamen they're dressed in the garb you would see farmers wear, right? Were they from New Jersey, Pennsylvania? Hard to say. Mayor, you were saying you had seen information that perhaps,
One of them represents.
yeah, so,
Thank you.
well, maybe,
One of the three.
yeah. Well, there is another guy, but in the back, another, this is often missed too, and historians have pointed to this as like an interesting thing because he's in the back. You can see his clothing and the stylized kind of stuff going on here with, whatever this pouch is hanging. It's a native, joining Washington's efforts, kind of pushing from the back, right? Like that momentum still, okay? And finally, this is an intriguing thing that's been somewhat debated. This person towards the bottom of the middle, right at the middle of the boat, if you're looking closely enough, you can see the details. But first of all, this person's not wearing a hat. You know it's cold. They're wearing a hat. And they're kind of genderless, like it's very ambiguous. And a lot of historians have said, well, maybe it's a younger man who joined the army, or maybe it's a woman who was disguised. All right. I think there's multiple ways to interpret it in a modern era at this point, but it's interesting to see, like, look at so far all the differences, right? There's a diversity here. And then additional folks like these hats, when you look into this, it's more like these are mariners, okay? And this guy's uniform points to possibly a New England, they're called the Marblehead. And they were just a faction that joined the movement. So then you have the guy holding the flag bearer. Supposedly James Monroe was supposed to be represented as sort of that supportive figure there. And then you have yet again another, this to me is got the Appalachians, the garb, the whole thing, coonskin cap, and his garb and his sash there where he's holding he's got a sword strapped to him. So he's got that real frontier look. But all these people in the same boat. Now, for me, being on council, that was always a big deal. Sorry, we're not done yet. That was a big deal because what's it called? Hold up. I really don't like PowerPoint. PowerPoint's not like the best. I don't know why I changed that format. It's really weird. Oh, you see it normally here. Okay, whatever. I see it like tiny. There it is. So this is it. For me, this is it. It's leadership, right? It's moving forward. It's moving forward. We're on the same boat. We're all different, right? I've served with people of all kinds of backgrounds. Honestly, if you look at our borough council, it's extraordinary, the makeup of it. And at this point, you could fill a boat with we represent our town, truly. Okay. And I think that in the spirit of this is really what this governing thing's all about, right? Because this is at the small municipal level, this is democracy, right? And I think after we hear from the mayor, that'll be a little bit more true, okay? But that's the one thing that's always been in the back of my mind as it's behind me, right? So it's guided me, all right? Good old George Washington and his boat full of patriots of all backgrounds. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to let the mayor take it from here, and we're going to keep it casual, okay? We don't, I gave the lecture, I got that out of the way, but it's really a conversation. And Mayor Carroll, if you would mind sharing a little bit about yourself and tell us what we should know.
So, everybody from Flemington Borough, everybody from Raritan Township, who they all know that you're not from Flemington, or you're not from Flemington Borough. Just by getting background, I've been involved in local government since 1989 when I got on the Homeowners Association board, and which is really the weeds. We were having a problem. I was living in Raritan Township at the time. I was born and raised in the borough, and my grandmother was very ill, and my mother was taking care of her and wouldn't hire anybody. So my dad and I conspired, and he helped me buy a condo in Raritan Township to free up a bedroom so my mom could get an aide. So I moved to Raritan Township for that reason, over by McDonald's, not half a mile. And we were having trouble with the local government to take over our roads, and I was president of the association and kind of stormed City Hall, and they ended up taking over our roads, and that led to a planning board appointment in the township. And from the planning board, I ended up running for office in Raritan Township, where I served for 9 years, including as mayor. And from there, I became the first woman freeholder, now county commissioner, elected in Hunterdon County. Hunterdon was the last county to elect a woman to that office in the state. I'm embarrassed to say, but it's true. And there were 5 women who ran before me, also lost. I served in that for 8 years, and then went into state legislature. And I was both in the Assembly and the Senate. And in between all of that, I spent 5 years working for the state Treasury Department. I wrote the state's capital budget for the entire state, with the exception of the DOT and all their roads and Green Acres. But I wrote it for everybody else. I wrote the Treasury Department's operating budget, and I defended the capital budget to the Capital Budget Commission, which is legislators. And before I actually ended up on the Capital Budget Commission, ironically, as a legislator. And I managed about $1.3 billion in budgets when I was there, with a staff of 29 people. I was in charge of all the leases of the state, through the operating budget of the Treasury Department, and those buildings as well, all of these facilities as well, besides writing the budgets. So it seems like I've always been doing budgeting in government. I do have an MBA. And when I first got elected to the Raritan Township Committee, I was assigned Finance and Administration, as well as a few other committees, including what was then the Industrial Development Committee, which is now Economic Development there, and the Environmental Commission. Started the preservation of all the farmland in Raritan Township, and moved back to the borough when my dad passed away in 2005. But when I became a freeholder, I also was immediately assigned Finance and Administration. Just one of those things, because of my government budgeting background. I have 30-something plus years after I left state government. I served in a number of commissions. I ran Meadowlands Commission, which is now part of the Sports and Exposition Authority, but it did the zoning for 14 municipalities. When I was a legislator, I represented 46 municipalities. I think I've represented more local governments than anybody else in the state of New Jersey ever. It should be. I should be. Blow my grades out. And I used to visit every one of those municipalities annually when I was in the legislature, as well as on the Meadowlands Commission as the executive director there. Then I went down to higher education, student administration. And from there, what I really wanted to do was get back into local government, because I really love local government. So I became a business administrator, and I retired from Middlesex Borough as their business administrator. Also a borough form of government. It's 3 times our size, geographically 3 times our size, and population 3 times our size. So they have, almost 3 times the amount of staff members as we have, but certainly not 3 times as many. Like, Flemington is unique. We have, a number of problems that we have, including rural aging sewer and water infrastructure. I think it would be my number one thing I would single out as a problem in this town. So I know that a number of you are from Raritan Township, so I do want to just spend a second talking about the differences. So New Jersey has 14 different kinds of local government. Every one of them has to be incorporated as that form of government. So Lambertville is a city form of government. It's not really a city, as we know, but it is a city form of government, which means that they have their structure of how voting happens, the powers of the mayor, the powers of the governing body below the mayor. It's all how it's incorporated in the law. So there are different kinds of townships. Clinton Township has an elected mayor. Raritan Township has an appointed mayor. So again, they're different incorporated, incorporations for municipalities under state law or state statute. Same thing. Under that the legislature has created through our Constitution in New Jersey. So in Raritan Township, you have 5 people elected at large throughout the entire township. It is the oldest form of government in the state of New Jersey, is a township form of government, the Raritan Township form of government. There are in Hunterdon County, there are 14 townships, and 13 of the 14 are like Raritan. Clinton Township is the one that is not. Among those 5 elected annually, those 5 people choose the mayor. So it acts more like Parliament, where the MPs all elect the prime minister, than it does anything else. So if you live in Raritan Township, you do not choose your mayor, and it is supposed to rotate annually. There have been mayors in Raritan Township that have stayed 2 years in a row. If you look at West Windsor Township, same exact form of government, that mayor has been the mayor for almost 30 years. Everybody lets her just do it. It's crazy. And it's not helpful, my personal, right? And the reason it is the oldest form of government in New Jersey, and it was formed and created prior to the American Revolution, is because by rotating 5 equal people, there's no king, right? This was not something that was invented for Donald Trump. This was invented back during the American Revolution for local government. And so the borough form of government, which we are, and 10 other municipalities in Hunterdon. The exceptions are the town of Clinton, which is a town form of government, and the city of Lambertville. But Hampton, Glen Gardner, Stockton, Milford, Frenchtown, us, Lebanon Borough, they're all borough forms of government like us. So in borough forms of government, you have a 6-person council by law. It is 6 people elected at large for 3 years each, two every year. They rotate, and a mayor who is elected for 4 years. So Raritan Township has a mayor elected among themselves for 1 year. In Flemington and borough form of government, you have a mayor elected every 4 years by the people. The mayor in Raritan Township has no job except to chair meetings and sign documents. They have no exceptional powers, none. Again, they're all equal, no kings. The public thinks that the mayor has a lot of powers, but they don't. In a borough form of government, the mayor has certain powers. The council is the legislative body. They are the body that votes. The mayor can break ties if it's 3-3, with one exception, which is the budget. The budget must be passed by the council, the people. Okay? And anything else, the mayor can break a tie. The mayor's powers, however, include the mayor controls the agenda. Nothing gets put on the agenda unless the mayor says so. With the exception of the appointment to the planning board, which is state law, among the council shall be an appointed member to the planning board by the council. The mayor appoints every other position. The members of the Shade Tree Commission, the planning board, the environmental commission, the historic preservation commission, all these commissions and boards, the public arts committee, the library board, they're all appointed by the mayor. That's state statute. In Flemington Borough, we also have the bid, the partnership. That's created by ordinance that the state allows, right? You cannot, in local government, this is really key, unless the state law enables it, local government can't do anything. So local government is allowed to create a business improvement district that taxes itself. So that business improvement district is paid for by the businesses that rest in the business improvement district. So it's not taxed at large among homeowners, it's taxed by commerce, the commercial office entities in the district. And there is one member, and that's created by ordinance, and that ordinance has been changed twice, maybe 3 times. Last time was in 2016 or 17. And one member of the governing body, so not the council, but the mayor and the council are supposed to appoint one member as a liaison trustee every year. So that's the exception. So getting back to what the state allows, and I'll give you the example. Cultural and Heritage Commission, which was meeting here earlier. The state of New Jersey, under state law, allows a county to form a Cultural and Heritage Commission. It does not allow a municipality to form one. We have an environmental commission in Flemington Borough. State law allows a municipality to form an environmental commission. It doesn't allow a county to. Don't ask me why. I don't know. But that's the.
May I interject?
Sure.
Shouldn't that be flipped though? Like, wouldn't it be better to have the county like with the environment and because the cultural stuff seems so specific to each.
I don't know. I mean, that's why some of the municipalities have historical societies, because they can't have a commission. You can't have a historical commission as a municipality, but you can have a society or a committee or a club, but you can't have a commission. Because with commissions come powers. So in local government, the environmental commission, if enabled by the municipal council, governing body, is allowed to spend money, if given the money, to buy and acquire open space. So, and under state law, if a local governing body has an environmental commission, by law, a member of that environmental commission must be appointed by the mayor to the planning board. Not the other way. The environmental commission member is appointed to the planning board, must be on to represent the planning board or represent the environmental commission. So all of that is in what's called Title 40, because all the state laws are by title. So school boards are governed under Title 26. When I get people like in my face about what's happening at the schools, I'm like, whoa, different state law. I have nothing to do with that. Zero, right? Nothing. They are Title 26. Everything that happens there is under Title 26, with the exception of how school board elections are run, which is also done through Title 40. So, but that's the exception. They have, full powers themselves. And state law sets, the powers of these commissions. So like the library board is enabled by state law. Through the state, there is a library tax that is levied on every property in that municipality. And the library is run through that tax. Because people know, the state was smart enough to figure out a long time ago, 100 years ago, that nobody would fund a library if they weren't forced to. And we would lose all of our books and our libraries, and that would be terrible. It really would be. So they have the right to hire people and fire people and run themselves, and they live in our building owned by the municipality, but they run their own operation, the library in the borough of Flemington. So we have a reciprocal agreement with the county, but you only get, you've got the Flemington card, right? In Raritan Township, there is no library. You use the county's library system. So, and one of the challenges that I've had as mayor is the fact that so many people in Raritan Township don't know they live in Raritan Township. Even after they pay taxes and they get their building permits, there is not a week, and I'm not making this up. I wish I was making this up.
People with that age.
There is not a week that has gone by. I have all the emails where I have not been invited to a ribbon cutting or have gotten a complaint from somebody from Raritan Township. And, last week I performed a wedding from somebody who lives on Route 523, zip code 0822 in Reddington Township. And she said, will you do she went to Mary Melfi, the county clerk. County clerk said, I can't do it. Asked the mayor of Flemington, you live in Flemington, right? She goes, oh yes, I live in Flemington. I looked her up. I knew she didn't live in Flemington. I'd never heard of her. I think I know most of my constituents' names, at least by sight, on a voter registration thing. I mean, not know you personally, even though I went to all your houses. But she said, "Great, I'm so glad you can do my wedding." I said, "It'll be my honor." And then she wrote me back and said, "Oh, I sent out your clerk told me I have to get my license from Remington, but can you still marry me?" And I can marry you anywhere in the state of New Jersey, and I'm happy to do that. And when I married her, I said to her, "So why did you want to get married in Flemington Borough?" I was playing really stupid. I was like, "Why did you really want to get married in Flemington Borough? Because it's the county seat?" She goes, "No, I really thought I lived in Flemington." So at least you're honest. So that was last week. About a month ago, there's like tons of this. Like invited to Target ribbon cutting as the mayor of Flemington by the vice president of Target. And I'm like, "You're in American Township." And he's like, "I am." I'm like, "Where did you do all your, you just finished this massive construction project where you're paying construction costs and fees to Raritan Township." This happens all the time. A month ago, this is my absolute favorite. I get most people when I say to them, "I can't help you." Somebody wrote to me and said, "Oh, we've been watching everything you've been doing. It's been reported with the parking committee, and we really need a stop sign on such and such road." And I'm like, I write to them, I'm like, "You're gonna have to talk to your own governing body. You're a township. You're not borough of Flemington." And I never hear from them again. It's not like a thank you. It's not like a whatever. I never hear from these people. It's like, I don't know if they're embarrassed or they don't still care. So this guy writes to me and he says, "I'm having all these problems on my street. This is going on." And I mean, it was, I look him up. Did I tell you the story?
No.
Do you know the story?
Yes, I do. I know why.
Oh, well, so I write to him. I went to this guy and I said, "I can't help you. I said, you sound like you have a serious issue and you really should talk to, your governing body, and your mayor is King." The guy writes me back. He goes, "Thank you so much for that information. Bob is my neighbor." And I didn't know who I should ask. I can't make it up. Can't make it up. So it is really one of my favorite government stories now about Flemington and Raritan. And he lives right next to him. So this is, it's like the identity of Flemington is so strong. Everybody wants to say that Flemington was something bad, right? Our municipal attorney, his parents live in Raritan Township. They tell everybody they live in Flemington until there's a really bad issue in Raritan Township. Then they're right there complaining to Raritan Township. They know where they live, but it's got a really strong identity. But for me, it's like I have 25,000 constituents who don't know they're not my constituents, and it's it's a lot of emails.
Jersey is unique in that. I grew up in Clinton Township. My friends were of course from Clinton. From Clinton Township. Actually, I'm from Lebanon. I was in Lebanon, Clinton Township.
But like people who live in East Amwell and they all have a Ringo zip code, they don't say I'm from Ringo. They say I'm from East Amwell. That's really from Ringo's, right? Mm-hmm. Only here does this happen. It's like really a phenomenon of Flemington. But this is where things get muddy and ugly. Is when I first got elected, and they were just finishing up the really ugly high rises over by PetSmart in Raritan Township, and there was the big, "Oh my gosh, nobody made them put in sidewalks to the high school." I got so much hate mail from people about why did Flemington allow this? And I'm like, it's not Flemington. Yes, it's right across the street from Flemington. It is not Flemington. We didn't allow it. We weren't the street. So there's been stuff like that, and now I'm getting more mail saying, "What is Flemington building by Costco?" And I'm like, Raritan Township is allowing more of those ugly buildings by Costco. Right? So, Flemington is certified under that law for low moderate income housing. We are certified in 2035. Raritan Township hasn't been certified in former elected officials chose to ignore state law and then imperil the municipality, and now they have to play catch up. And it's a problem because the biggest commodities municipalities have are sewer, and for us, water and sewer. Raritan Township is sewer, and they're out of sewer capacity. Flemington Borough on paper is out of water capacity on paper. Really not trying to fix that issue, but our sewer depends on the health of Raritan Township's Municipal Utilities Authority. We have so much gallonage, we're guaranteed. But, I get concerned because, under builder's remedies, with the state of New Jersey, the courts have the right to seize other municipalities' sewer. So in Three Bridges, a housing development in Flemington Township was approved. Three Bridges uses the Raritan Municipal Utilities Authority, like Flemington Borough does. And it was a builder's remedy because Reddington Township was behind on their rural housing requirement. And so it was denied by Reddington Township because they had no sewer. The builder went after Raritan Township Municipal Utility Authority, and the utility was required under state law, low and moderate income housing have priority on all projects, period. And they were forced to give Reddington Township capacity, even though Reddington was out of capacity, Three Bridges was out of capacity. So I worry about that because, I'm a very nuts and bolts person. For me, it's all about the health of the infrastructure in the borough. So it's like, what's happening underground? You can't have anything good above ground unless there's health underground. And our sewer water lines, not all of them anymore, but there are a lot of sewer water lines in this town that are 100 years old. They're made of clay. They're made of wood. A lot of them are leaking. A lot of them have infiltration. It's costing us extra money. The DEP is down our backs to fix things. The EPA is down our backs to fix things. And we've known about this problem for probably 50 years. And that's at least 6 mayors have kicked this town on and not wanted to deal with it. Because what happens underground doesn't vote. Pretty shiny road, Main Street votes. But what happens underground doesn't vote. But what I know from all my experience is that you can't have a pretty shiny road last if it's got bad infrastructure, which is why mayors were paving Main Street for decades. And within 4 or 5 years, the bonds weren't even paid off. The road was starting to crack and crumble and heave and sink. And it's like, this is like wasteful. It's not productive. It's certainly not environmentally friendly. And so, to make the infrastructure healthy has really been a priority of mine. The DPW, Department of Public Works, told me I'm the first mayor in 20 years and asked them for their priorities. And I've been every year, they give me priority update. And I share it with the council. This is what the DPW says is their priorities. Yes, I have made certain streets in town angry because they were promised by a prior mayor, oh, we're going to do your road, don't worry. And it's not the priority, right? Priority right now is the next phase, which is the last phase of Main Street to the traffic light. So it'll be the traffic light, Church Street to the construction site of the hotel course. That's the last part of Main Street proper. It hasn't had new sewer and water lines put in. Because of my background in government, all the years I've been doing this for Raritan Township, as well as a freeholder, and certainly working in the Treasury Department, there is funding available that a lot of municipalities don't know about, and Flemington didn't know about it. When I came in, the borough was using the USDA, yes, the United States Department of Agriculture, to do a lot of our long-term bond funding. The red tape there is minimal. It's minimal, and they give you a 30-year loan at nice terms. But it was about the red tape, right? We're a small municipality. We don't have a lot of professionals. So nobody wanted to do the paperwork. The state of New Jersey, back when I first got elected, had something called the Environmental Infrastructure Trust. It's now called the IBank, the Infrastructure Bank. And there's an IBank DEP, which was the EIT, Environmental Infrastructure Trust. And there's an IBank DOT for roads. And working with both of them, they give loans with forgiveness of a portion of a loan. So up until 4 years ago, anything a municipality borrowed from the IBank, they were forgiving 75%. Okay? It got so popular 4 years ago, they changed it to 50%. Certain municipalities based by population need, like Flemington Borough, qualify for 100%. So I was able to get Flemington 100% forgiveness on everything below the ground on Main Street.
Even the new part.
That's what I'm talking about. The new stuff that was done, underground, galvanized piping, sewer replacement, water replacement. Borough has to bond, we still have to go into debt for it. We have to pay the bills. We have to collect all the receipts. We have to turn it over to the state. They do a full audit. It takes time and a lot of red tape. A lot of red tape, which is why my professionals, our DPW superintendent, hate them. But we're gonna get it all back. And then we can roll it over to the next part of the street. So it's one bond that's just gonna keep giving and giving, and then we can do Main Street with it, is the next big piece. And I can get grants for small amounts above ground, but I can go to IBank DOT, so that's all under IBank DEP, part of environmental protection. But then I can go to the IBank DOT and get the road money to be forgiven at 50% or better. Depends on how much in need we are, okay? And that's a beautiful thing, you know, and hopefully the borough will continue to do this until everything's done, because you only have so much, it's like a mortgage, you can only borrow so much against your house. Borough can only borrow so much against all of our assets. And when I came in, the state does not allow you to borrow more than 3.5% of your complete asset. So that's every single building in Flemington. Every building in Flemington qualifies as one of our assets.
Even private home?
Yes, they're all here. It's the value, the total value of all buildings in a municipality or in a county. The county gets to count all of us. 3.5% is what you're allowed to borrow. Okay? And auditors, municipal auditors and CFOs really don't want a municipality to borrow more than 1.75%. And smaller, like us, like 1.5%. When I became mayor, we were at 2.9%. We were in serious debt. We were on a downgrade watch by Standard & Poor's on our bonding rating, which just means interest rates go up. So it costs taxpayers more to pay off the stuff. So now that watch is gone, right? Because we've gotten healthier. We're down to, I believe we're down at 2.1% from the 2.9% in borrowing. And our surplus went from 600,000 when I became mayor. It's now 1.2 million. We're $200,000 short of where our auditor wants us. We've never had this much surplus before, ever in the borough. So, and hopefully it will stay healthy like that. But that, you know, when this is done, we still have the Park Avenue needs a new sewer line. There's issues down at the bottom where Agway is with the traffic light, where it floods, and you know, every time it rains, it's flooding our sewer lines down there. That needs to be dealt with. That's the EPA for manning, you do something with that. All of this takes like money to do tests. Our engineers out there all the time. I mean, I think there's two resolutions on Monday night to do with another study on moving this all forward, you know, because in order to do the design, you have to have studies to do the designs. Now, recently, I just got the state, this was another really good thing. The state has agreed to reimburse us for the designs of 9 major infrastructure projects. So as long as we do all the designs by next year, they're going to reimburse us 100% of that money. And it's about almost $1 million in design. And they have certified that our municipal engineer can do that work. So it's even better because he really knows the projects. Then we have 3 years on those 9 projects. If we do those projects within 3 years, they will reimburse us 100% of those projects. Now that's not physically possible. It's just not. And we don't have the bonding capacity because we still have to borrow it to get it back. But the designs will be in the can, right? So whenever we get to them, the designs are done. and that's a big chunk of money. And hopefully we'll get to a bunch of this. I mean, I'm hoping that in those 3 years, borough will get back 100% of Main, of mine, hopefully Park Avenue as well. But there are 9 projects that are being worked on now. Council approved the resolution. And the money to do that, like I said, all of this has to be on the books. It's gotta be booked. So it's gotta look like, we're taking it, it's on the books, it's our debt. And then we'll get reimbursed, and then the debt can be moved to another project. But it's still debt, even though we don't have to pay for it, it's debt. That makes sense? Does it make sense? Lee isn't busted because he used to be municipal attorneys. So don't listen.
Well, Marcia, real quick, what people also sort of said, you look at Main Street, that took a long time. And that was like, I got Facebook messages from people from Vernon telling me, I got phone calls, people, when are you gonna do it? It looks terrible. I'm like, I get it, but we're working on it. That was a process. Like, we were in the Zoom meetings with the IBank, with the engineer. I mean, that's, how old was that infrastructure under there? I mean, we're
It was
talking.
100 years old.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
100 years old.
Yeah.
Every bit. I mean, I saw pieces of the wood,
Yeah.
and it was a lot worse than our DPW saw. I mean, it really was. It's a good thing we did it. It was a lot worse. I mean, there could have been some real, we lost water for a couple of days. It was like, it could have been a catastrophe. It was that bad. So it's good that it was done. Like I said, it was kicked down. It's been kicked down for so many mayors. I mean, I can't finger point any one. They're all guilty of just like ignoring this since, my dad was mayor in 1980. So dad was guilty too. But it's probably started working on this, certainly since like 1990, or 2000. I mean, we've had, I don't know how many mayors since then, right? I mean, I could go back and count them all. But it's at least 6, 7, 8 mayors since 2000. So
let me ask you, are the water and sewer lines in the new section that you built from Church Street down to the circle? Are they connected to the older part between Church and Forester?
of course they are.
So you have new stuff connected to old stuff, and then you got new stuff on it. Northern end.
Don't you have that in your house? Sure we do. But it's the way it is.
Yeah.
Until we finish all of it. It's just the way it is. And it'll get done, but I always say government works. It just works slowly, but it does work. You just have to have the patience to deal with it. Because it can be frustrating, and patience pays off. Like I said, I mean, we've got millions of dollars in loans to the USDA. Yeah, sure. It's 30-year loan. So the payments are lower, but we're making those payments, right? Be patient, do the paperwork, get the audit time, it's a lot of red tape to do with the state, right? But the patience of that is they're gonna reimburse us 100% on what we just did, except for the road, right? The road will get something back, it's 75% or 50%. But it was a $2.1 million project, not counting the road, which was 1.2 million. And we're gonna get it all back. And that's worth it to me,
Can this be used to refinance state funds?
No. It can only be used to move forward another environmental project or whatever. You basically have to start from scratch. No, you can't.
I figured it was.
No, I the USDA now, now we're so many years into the IBank, they've gotten more favorable, and they've got, one of the only, I really like the people at the IBank because they think they really try to make life easier. The one good thing about the IBank is that DOT IBank and DEP IBank use the same lawyer. So, which is a good thing, because he knows all the projects, when you're trying to coordinate 2 different loan projects, because they're different, right? And they're from different areas. So the galvanized pipe loan comes out of a different pot from the DEP than the sewer loan, which comes out of a different pot in the DEP than the water loan. Because, we're talking about, the 3,600 person bureaucracy at the DEP with a gazillion little tiny bureaus. And it takes somebody like me who was in state government for years and a legislator for years. And when Chris Christie won governorship, I did his transition. I led his transition team on the DP. So there's very little about the DP that I don't know. And most of those senior managers were all middle managers when Chris Christie came in. And so I know everybody at the DP. And like I said, I get along great with most of them. So I just think it's worth, working through all of this with them. The USDA has been losing so much business in New Jersey now. Of course, they're national, that they are like starting to not approach. When I first became mayor, they were calling me all the time. Do you want to do a project? Because everybody's going to the island. So what the rumor on the street is, and I hope it's true, is they're going to turn their attention to where, go where your opponents can't go, right? So the IBEC doesn't loan money for buildings. Our municipal building could use a real facelift, right? I mean, truly. Or, like the thought of being maybe able someday to build a new fire department. IBEC doesn't do that. They don't do that. But the USDA is starting to talk about it. And that would be great because we don't have a borrowing source in government to do stuff like that.
I thought George Malone was going to retrofit the Polaroid Florida building to be the new.
So that was my predecessor's vision, which was going to be taking yet another building out of the tax rolls, like the police building, which was paying $35,000 a year taxes. It has now cost the good citizens of Flemington Borough $303 million, and we're not even close to being finished with that building. So it would have taken another one. Council all agreed that we would rather get the property and sell it. And there are no strings attached to it. So we will be able to hopefully get anywhere from $600,000 to $800,000 in selling that property and putting it back into infrastructure money, capital money, or something else. So closing a budget hole, something else rather than taking the building out of paying taxes and still having the municipal building to do what? It's it's already out of taxes. So Flemington Borough can't afford to lose rateables. We just can't. We can't. We have tens of millions of dollars in non-rateables already. 54% of our rateables are non-rateables. We have 9 churches, a school, our own municipal buildings, all of county government, parks, all of that, and none of it pays tax.
So being a county seems to be a blessing and a curse.
It's a total curse. I don't know. I don't know why anybody would think you having the drop speeches is complete, but is it worth, not having all those taxes when you're a tiny municipality? I mean, Raritan Township has a number of county facilities as well up on the hill. Right? It's got that whole complex thing, right? But Raritan Township's enormous with 25,000 people, and it's got 5 times the amount of housing and rateables that we have. So they can absorb it. For Flemington to absorb it is really hard. It's really hard. Now I can tell you on the books, I joke around. I joke, but I don't joke with council that I would like to play municipal Jeopardy against every municipal attorney in the state because I think I would win. Because I know more municipal trivia and stuff than I think almost any attorney does in the state. And I have my clerk's license, right? I have my municipal clerk's license, which is the hardest license to get in the state. Clerk statute, their title is really difficult. And only 17% of all applicants pass the test every year. So you get to take it 3 times. If you can't go ahead, you can't take it. And I passed it the first time. I got a 97 on the test, which was the highest grade in the state. And I argued with the state, with the Department of Community Affairs for 2 hours.
You should have been up.
It should have been. It should have been. It's a trick question that I lost 2 points on. I was really angry. And I missed one word in an essay on bonding. One word, and it took a point off. Anyway, I digress.
So you're a smarty man.
So I have a municipal but here's the thing. There is a law in the book, which is called, it's a affectionately known as the county seat law. The county seat law was written by one of 100 state senators. It was a feel-good law to make everybody shut up and stop barking at him, and it does nothing. What it says is, any county seat in New Jersey that has more than 50% of its rateable base in value owned by the county or non-paying ratables like churches and schools, that the entire county can make up that difference and pay it to the county seat, provided, and here's the thing, why it makes it worthless, it has to go on the ballot, put on by the county commissioners, and the entire county has to vote in favor of paying more taxes to the county seat. So who's gonna ever do that? Right? Who's ever gonna do that? So it's a values.
But there was a time when employees from the county were here and they were walking around going into.
Well, yeah, and that was, right, so there was a time when the jail was open and the Hall of Records and the courthouse had offices in them, and the jail was open, and there was, Main Street was definitely more robust. And there was 20, 30 more employees, but I don't think that the freeholders realized how many visitors came to that jail every day. And they came down, and had lunch in town and hung out, probably bought gas on their way out of town. And would go and buy magazines and candy and bring it into the, it cost the borough a lot, a lot. And that was, it was really, for Flemington Borough, it was a terrible decision. They moved a lot of employees out of River Township, out by the complex where the library is. We lost a lot of departments there because the courthouse was almost all offices. The historic courthouse was all offices. And there were more offices. Back when I was a freeholder, we had one space. The 5 freeholders had a space about probably square footage wise, the same size as this building, or this room was square. And we each had a cubicle. Now we all have offices on Main Street. And they're like never there. But that was all real offices by staff members. We go and have lunch, So now they all have private offices, freehold. But we shared one common space on the first floor. Not a place to go to meet. It wasn't invited.
Does the county own a bunch of empty space in town?
No, the county owns a couple of empty spaces in town. The county owns the choir school building up Forest Place, which is currently being used by the 10300th, which is a historical not-for-profit, which I chair, and I've been chairing it since 2013. We're sort of in but not of the county. And that building is, we're there, the freeholders could kick us out tomorrow if they wanted to. We watch the building, maintain the heat, make sure there's nothing happening to it. We go in it every 2 weeks to make sure nothing's going on inside. We've caught leaks and and the borough has made a pitch for that building and has asked if the freeholders ever want to sell it, that they consider selling it to the borough for $1. The county, in order for the county, any government to get rid of property, any county government, local government, or state government, you have to put things out on auction. You can't just sell it. You can't just hire a real estate agent and say this is worth $200,000 and you go into a little bidding war. It has to go out for public auction. But anything in a historical district, which pretty much all Flemington is, also has to have a full archaeological study done. And it has to go to the State Historic Preservation Office for approval of public hearing, unless it's sold to local government. So the county can avoid all of that. They just keep that, right? If they want to sell it privately, they have to do all those things and put it on. So that's one place that's empty that they're not using. And the other place that's empty that they're not using is the series of little buildings that's on Court Street across from the park. That used to have the sheriff's office in it and some other offices. So they've been vacant for a number of years and they're not in good shape.
Mold.
Yeah, they're not in good shape at all. So I don't know what the county's gonna do with that. They did, show it to the borough, and the borough was like, yes, thank you, no, thank you, like, just the amount of sheer work to be done would be crazy, and there's probably, my guess is there's probably lead and asbestos there as well. Because they haven't really done much with it, and they're really old buildings. So those are the only two empty spaces that the county owns besides the jail. And the jail is occupied on the first floor by the sheriff, and they use it for storage as well. I'm not sure what's gonna happen with that. There's a lot of talk about it. About tearing it down and putting something else there. I have.
In the jail and the widow house, would you?
No, the one down by the Justice
Oh,
Complex,
okay.
the new jail. And, because they can't use it as a jail anymore, again, state law. So as long as they were using it as a jail, everything was fine. As soon as they went into their first deal with Somerset County to house our prisoners, they vacated that building and it is no longer up to jail code. So in order to use it as a jail again, they would have to retrofit the entire building. It would cost millions to make it a jail again. So that's not. They just stayed there, kept a couple prisoners there, it would have been fine, but they didn't do that. So, I have made a pitch to the freeholders that if they do tear it down, to consider giving us a piece of the land, not all of it, but a piece, for our use for a future building. So I don't know, again, what's gonna happen with that. That's empty, it's quasi empty, like the sheriff does use it. And then, I think that's all that's empty, there also is a parking lot next to the old Casa, that's owned by the county, that they were gonna sell a few years ago, and they had going up for auction, but they never did the archaeological, and it got stopped by the state of New Jersey. Because they didn't do an archaeological, they didn't go to SHPO, Preservation Office, and so they had to pull the plug on that. And it's another place I've asked for consideration because it is the only public parking lot on the south end of our commercial district. It's the only one. There is nothing else. There had this parking lot we own that is now part of the square. So that county parking lot is really important. And I do believe, and I have to check on this before Monday night, as a surprise to the council, I do believe I've got the county now signing the Justice Complex that it is county parking only Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., which means the public can use it at night and weekends.
So everybody goes through with the fireworks. They go park there.
Versus fireworks, snow, I mean, they haven't allowed us to park there. Any of the stuff. So shopping on Main Street, restaurant use, whatever.
Good. Question for you, Marcia. I've always wondered, what is the relationship between the mayor, the council, and the planning commission when a developer wants to build something new? How do those three bodies work with each other?
So if it's a developer,
Yeah, like ag.
that's a redevelopment, that's different,
Ah,
and that's a different state law, it comes under house,
so what about the redevelopment?
that's a redevelopment. So
Well,
if it's a
that's clear.
developer who wants to come in and build it like a new subdivision, that's just like full taxes, regular old application. The council and the mayor, other than the council member who serves on the planning board, the mayor who serves on the planning board has full say, 100% under state law. Developer goes to them, the mayor and the council member have the same voting power and power as anybody else on the planning. So, and that's under Title 40, under the planning board. Under housing law, so I think it's Title 28, falls redevelopment. It's totally different code. It's got a
How
whole
do
different.
we split?
So under redevelopment law, the planning board still has to hear the project. But the council or township committee or city of Lambertville, whatever governing body it is, has the right to ignore current planning ordinances. So for instance, the ordinance on the books in Flemington Borough says nothing shall be higher than 3 stories. Nothing shall be higher than the historic courthouse. That's the way it was planned and written. When the hotel project came along, it was originally approved for 7 stories. Because of the lawsuit, it's 5 stories. So Friends of Historic Flemington hadn't sued, it would have been 7. People think this is too big. So you imagine it being 7 stories, right? So, so they have the right to negotiate, right? If you're a developer, like, if a developer comes into town and says, I'd really like to talk to you about your vision, I say, yeah, I'm sorry, just go talk to the municipal planner. Elected officials shouldn't be talking to people who want to build in their town. It's really not safe. It is unethical. It borders illegal. It is, falls under ethics law. A redeveloper, all hands are off. You can negotiate with them. You can talk to them. You can ask for goodies. You can trade. For a builder building a regular old site plan, it is illegal for a planning board to say to them, well, you're going to bring in 50 kids. We want you to donate 2 school buses. Illegal. A redeveloper, I want the Allies building. Thank you very much. Let's give you $2 more million for our infrastructure. Totally legal.
What's the legal distinction between the developer? How's that defined?
So again, they fall under 2 totally different statutes under state law. So that's the big, they have their own set of laws under housing. Redevelopment implies that there is an environmental issue. It is neglected, it is need, or there is an environmental clean. Okay, so like in the Agway situation, it's considered a blighted area. Liberty Village had issues. Okay, so it's all blighted. It all falls under blight. And those laws were really suited for the inner cities, but everybody uses them now, maybe too much. What redevelopment law allows a municipality to do, and what makes it attractive for redevelopers, is that they can negotiate something called a payment of taxes or a pilot, which are not popular with citizens. Okay, they're popular with redevelopers. Pilots allow a redeveloper to pay less in taxes, but a municipality to get a larger share. Okay, so in taxes, for every $1 regular old development that a developer pays, so a developer builds a house, that house now gets the tax bill. For every $1 that house pays in Flemington, 28 cents goes to Flemington Borough. 5 cents goes to county open space. 13 cents goes to the county, library tax, and then the rest of it, that 50-something% goes to the schools. In a pilot, the negotiation can be that the redeveloper is only going to pay 50 cents instead of that $1. But the schools get nothing. The county gets 5% by law. That's it, 5%. So, and then the municipality said, yeah, the schools still have to be made whole. But there's, a big difference between what the governing body now collecting and pay. So if it's done right, it's a win for the municipality as well as the developer. If it's done wrong, then I'll tell you, truthfully, Union Hotel, their pilot, it was a gift. Borough will break even on services at best, because of the way that was negotiated. It's not a great pilot.
What about Liberty Village?
Liberty Village is an amazing pilot. Amazing. The borough will make money.
That's good.
I just want to, because I was involved in the Liberty Village one. Union Hotel was before my time. But with Liberty Village, one of the things that comes up when you talk to people about pilots, one of the first things they say is, what about the schools? Because that's a huge chunk of your taxes go to schools, right? And they have studies that are done, right? We had the financial guys we hired doing this stuff, ours, but also the developer does their own,
And the school did one as well.
and they all align.
The school agreed with our numbers, totally.
And that's
It's
How often is that?
Not-
It's about 25 kids, and you're like, yeah, no way.
Yeah.
And
It's-
Rick is like shocked.
Yeah.
But, one of the things that we did 2 years ago to try to align the Union Hotel a little bit more, is I put forward an ordinance to collect hotel tax, which is state law. The municipality can put on a 4% room tax. So we will be collecting something more from the hotel guests. And the other thing that we did, this was dicey, but council president held a vote, unanimous, was that we put in an ordinance that said that any project that is paying a pilot, so long as it pays a pilot, does not get free garbage seats included. So your taxes in this room, if you're in Flemington Borough, your taxes cover your garbage removal. But you're paying full taxes. The people at the Union Hotel in Liberty Village are already getting. You're not, well, even if the Union Hotel apartments are being charged market rate rent, that's on them, right? I mean, the redeveloper is trying to pay down $100 million loan. So he's got the tax break to help him do that, right? How he passes that on to his renters, that's not our business because it's private property. But in Liberty Village's case, right, they're getting the benefit because their taxes, they're going to have to pay taxes, and their tax bills are going to be lower than your tax bills. Because he is, I mean, part of the way they're selling their townhouses is you're going to pay a little bit more upfront. You're going to be paying less in taxes for the long haul. So that's how they're going to market them. They're very honest about it with us. So they are transferring the tax break to their new buyers. But then why should you all, why should we pay for their garbage? They're getting the tax break. So as long as they're paying a pilot, 30 years is the max the state allows. Union Hotel, I think, is under for a 22-year pilot. Liberty Village is a 30-year. It might be a back user, but whatever it is, once they stop, then they're entitled to their garbage because then they're going to have to pay for taxes. But until then, and the council gave that because that was the way it also kind of hits that.
And can we talk about garbage real quick? We had a garbage service. If you remember in the borough, every Thursday you put out all your stuff. And
It's great.
it was everything. But we had a situation, people were, like the same house was like, how many mattresses do they have?
Yeah. People were coming in from other townships, and we had kids here, or family here, parents here. We knew people had businesses outside of the borough were bringing in their commercial business refuse.
Well, the garbage rates were going up astronomical.
Yeah.
2017, I think China stopped taking the recycling, so that changed, the cost of all that. And we just had to change to a system where it's like, you can't throw out a mattress. And you can buy 4 stickers a year and put stuff out bulk. And it works, but we had to change it. So, I would say on garbage day, the town does look prettier, honestly.
It does.
We had to organize it a better way instead of just like errant cans. And when you had a windy day, forget about it.
And so the way you can.
But that's one of the things is like when you do this, Marcia's talking about all these things with budgeting and iBanks and infrastructure. Garbage. You got to make these decisions because later on, if you don't make the right decision about garbage here now, later on when you have Liberty Village come in and say like, well, how are we going to handle the garbage things? Like, well, hold on, we just changed our system and we don't want to like have it be nothing saved and nothing, it's a wash or whatever. So I mean, it's all the levels of this. It's just
The garbage contract is up in June, and it's going to come in at a much higher rate because garbage tipping fees are just going tipping fees are, you fill up the big trucks, and then they take them out to the dump, and they literally get on and tip the scales, so they're called tipping fees. And so garbage costs have gone through the roof. In the last couple of years, so the new contract comes in June, and, I mean, I have a real concern about what it's gonna cost us. It's an unknown. Complete unknown. It's hard to budget for something you don't know, because we run a calendar year.
Yeah.
Budget, all local governments run a calendar year. The state, however, runs a fiscal year from July 1st to June 30th. So it's kind of hard to know what something's gonna cost when you're not out to bid yet. So, and that's the other thing I wanted to just also mention is the bidding. As we were talking about differences in how things work. It's the same thing like with professionals, our lawyer, our engineer, whatever, all those professionals, in the borough government, the mayor appoints those with concurrence of the council. And Flemington does go out and ask for proposals, but that's not required in the law. Again, you can negotiate. I had every year, I held our engineer, that's hourly rate, we're giving him only, they'll put in a $15 hour increase, and I'll call them and say, can you hold it, or can you make it 5? And every year they agree. So you can negotiate that stuff on building projects and stuff like that. You cannot negotiate. They have to go out for low bid. And low bid wins under state law as long as they are responsible bidders. They follow the bidding procurement laws. You can't throw out low bid. And that's why a lot of projects in government aren't great. They're not the best. We've been lucky with some of our projects here, like the guys the road. But you have to go out for a real bid, low bid wins. You don't have to take it, like you can throw them all out. The sewer lines to Borough Hall, which run like behind the steps going up to Borough Hall and then under the sidewalk, they're failing. And we put it out for bids just that little tiny bit. We put it out to bid at the beginning of this year, and the low bid came in at $160,000, and we had set aside $80,000. And so we threw them all out, and we waited. We waited and we waited and we waited 9 months. We put it back out a month ago, and low bid came in at 65 or 68,000.
What was the difference in that?
How hungry they were working.
Okay.
And a lot of jobs for the winter.
Princeton and Princeton Township managed to merge. Has there been any discussion in the borough about merging with Raritan to
There
get
has
that
been
figure?
a number of ovations on shared services with the borough. We took them up on the offer to do a shared court. So our courts are currently shared. But we have not entertained other services that they've asked us about. Ours have they considered serving our together. So, we're vastly different, and it's really interesting how things have changed. Back in 2009, 9, Mayor Halk and Mayor King were talking about a shared police department. It cost Mayor Halk his mayorship. And because Flemington Borough was so opposed to losing its own police department, and Raritan Township, certain members of the township committee were so angry at the idea of merging with Flemington, which they considered this needy, in debt, rundown community. One of the committeemen actually paid for campaign literature. They put up a question in Raritan Township about just talking about shared services and talking about a potential merger. And one committee man put out a piece of campaign literature all about how destitute and horrible Flemington Borough was. And that question on there, that non-binding question failed at 78%. Nobody wanted to talk to Flemington. Now they want to talk to Flemington.
Yeah, we're on the up and up.
We're on the up and up.
We're the cool kids.
Financially, we're in pretty healthy now place. I mean, honestly, we really were when I became mayor. I ran on fiscal stability and I knew that there were problems. I didn't know how many problems there were. I mean, we were really way worse than I thought we were. And that's turned around considerably. I'm hoping it's going to turn around more. But, Raritan has grown by so much. They are in a massive police deficit. Police are the most expensive salary employees in any municipality. And by the time you outfit them and train them and car them and gun them and Kevlar them, salary, steps, and everything else, you're talking about $100,000 a cop. So, right now, we're holding even. We lost 4 in 1 year. We've hired 4 in 1 year. The chief would like us to grow by another one. We applied for a cops grant. We didn't get it, so we don't have the money for another one. But Raritan needs, based on the growth, the recent growth and the problems that they're having with all their growth, they're short 10 cops. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. I don't know what Raritan's, what they raised per penny in Flemington Borough. One penny in Flemington Borough raises about $45,000 on your taxes. So a cop in Flemington is a little over 2 cents, 2.5 cents to hire a cop. So you have a $500,000 house in Flemington, right? It's $100. It's going to raise your taxes just to hire one cop, just you. And that's not counting everything else. That's not counting the health care increases we're looking at this coming year, the garbage increases we're looking at, school taxes, So one cop is a lot of money. I don't know what they raise for, in Hunterdon County, 1 cent raises, I think, almost $2 million. So,
What's the change that has occurred that requires so many police officers today as compared to your father's day?
so now, now they do, the police organizations do these studies and they have these suggested numbers that they, which are really guidance, but they say, that's what we're supposed to have. And a lot of elected officials, there's a love-hate relationship between chiefs of police and mayors, always has been, always will be. And the elected officials as well. So, but what's changed, I think, in Flemington is we have a demographic change. There's a lot of, there's a lot of high intensity living in this town now. We have a lot of domestic calls. Traffic is, other than Christmas time, Flemington is pretty sleepy. There's traffic all the time now, speeding, and there was another person hit on the Flemington border in Raritan Township yesterday. He was a Flemington resident. I say was, but Jeremy and I do not know. We just know it was really bad. It may have been his fault, the pedestrian's fault. Again, we're not sure. The word is really sketchy because I think Raritan may have handled the police call, but Flemington may have handled the fire rescue part. There's so much of this, but there's that. I mean, there's just a lot of traffic and a lot of people, and a lot of people use Flemington as a cut through. They use, Park Avenue to Mine Street to get out to all of Western Hunterdon and Bucks County all the time. I mean, the traffic on is unbelievable with license plates from Petsy. Our police sat out there in the summer of 2024. They stopped, I think, in 4 hours, 75 cars. 0 speeders were from Flemington Borough. Over 50% of speeders were from Pennsylvania, and everybody else were from Raritan Township and Canada. So that's before we put those in, but still, there's still a big straightaway.
Yeah.
There's still a big straightaway. I mean, they clocked one Raritan Township clocked like 70 miles an hour on March that day. So let me repeat that: a Raritan Township cop doing 70 miles an hour clock. So it's so I think that's the difference. Thing you have more, more housing here, more apartments. But It's just that we're being used as a country. People don't like the circles. Drivers who are not born and raised in this area don't like, they move here and they don't like the circles. So they avoid them. I mean, my first, I'm the queen of the four-way stop in Flemington. My first three-way stop was at Church and Brown Street. Because people were coming and flying down Church and making the left at Brown because they wanted to avoid the circle. And I was campaigning in 2022. I know Brown Street residents telling me this. I was standing there watching it happen. And it was my first freeway stop. And I think people still live there.
I live on Brown
I
Street.
live on Brown. Yeah. So yeah, it was my very first one. And now, we just.
I don't know why anybody want to avoid the circle and use Brown. You can't get out once you're on Brown.
Yeah.
This is true, but they really, people not familiar with the circles in Flemington hate them. So, anybody want to ask about the stupid sign? I'm surprised about the sign. What, which one? The ugly sign on the circle. That's supposed to have plants and stuff. That one, yeah, follow.
You mean the one that says Mayor Carol?
No. It's follow. Barra spent 3 years trying to
Well,
fix
that's
this.
that company.
Yeah.
They belly up. They left us holding everything. Like, what? What are we supposed to do?
Right.
Isn't there a bond on that?
No, none of it's on public property. Go ahead.
No, when somebody has when you have a Flemington South, when it was built, they bonded for building the project.
They only bonded for the public elements, streets and sidewalks.
Can you take it over from limited domain because it?
Why would we want to? It's not finished. It's got, and the company that acquired it, the sheriff's
Does
sale.
anybody own it?
Yes, the company, there's the investors that were funding the project acquired it at sheriff's sale. They have come to the council in executive session. And then, I'm not gonna disclose anything I can't, but they want to finish the project.
You do?
They
Okay.
do want to finish the project. So we're hoping they will finish. the project. And they came recently.
Okay.
I can't disclose a lot of what's going on, but they do want to finish it.
So
So
it should not be an eyesore forever.
no, but it's gonna be probably months before we see, but they are keeping it clean now. They are mowing it. They have some plans to clean some more of the landscaping. We do have a lien on that property, so that if they don't maintain it, we will maintain it.
Okay.
We also have a lien at the Agway store building, the one with the fence around it. They've also
So what is
promised us.
that when the car?
What's that?
What's the latest going on with that?
It's all being held up by the DEP.
Oh, it
It's
is?
in floodplain. It's always been in floodplain. So they can't build what they proposed to build, what they sold the borough on. So the Agway store building, the guy who came in originally, he apparently was embezzling, so that investor took over the project, who's never built anything in his life. He is trying to remap with FEMA, the floodplain, so that they can build up to 100, it was approved for 100 units in 4-story apartments. It's horrible. It's high density horror for Flemington Borough. I'm sorry, I'm saying it. The planning board approved that project. Okay, they approved it. So they just need the DEP to say, yeah, you can build it, but it's in floodplain. Across the street, the Guitar Boy building, they also were approved by the council in 2022 to build 4 stories on 1 acre, 100 units. But that design was significantly better. Like the Guitar Boy building just has open space. It doesn't have any amenities for the borough. We were promised there an amphitheater. Never happened. The Guitar Boy building, however, promised us like an out parcel with a restaurant and like a park, an open space and a small pocket park. And the borough, we all love the design. Went to the Historic Preservation Commission. They loved the design. Went to the planning board, not for approval, just to see it. Everybody loved the design. So they sent it into the DEP. The DEP said, "Well, this is in floodplain. You can't build." So they were like, well, you know, you're gonna lose your restaurant, you're gonna use your park, and the council and I were like, oh, no. You gotta come up with something else, figure it out. Now, personally, I'm on record publicly. I'd like to save the original building. The way you say goodbye to the DP is to take the original funky, cool, very Flemington Agway building and you repurpose it. If it's on the same exact footprint, right? You build up or you just readapt it, DP has nothing to say. Zero, because it's a pre-existing structure. You tear it down, DP has complete jurisdiction. I think there is no building in Flemington besides the courthouse and the Union Hotel frontage that is more expressive of Flemington Borough's funk than the Guitar Boy building. I would like to save it. I'd like to say goodbye to the redeveloper who has not been able to make any headway with DP whatsoever and start all over again and say somebody propose something adaptively using this. Apartments with some commerce on the first floor, you know, a brewery, a mercantile, you know, and something like that with apartments you can build up a couple of stories. And they don't have to go to DP, solve the problem. But, you know, when I said it publicly to the council, it's kind of crickets. You know, I think there's some, this redeveloper has said to me at least 4 times, if you want us to go, I will not sue. He lives in Ohio. He has never built a project in New Jersey. And the only projects he's ever built are assisted living facilities. Good luck dealing with the DEP in New Jersey. He hired a lobbyist from Maine who now lives in New Jersey, a former state senator in Maine. Like, that doesn't get you a butt kiss here, bud. You know, you got to outplay the DEP if you want to build.
Well, and again, the complexity, you know, you're kind of like the DEP, they're like, you know, all powerful. What can you do? You know?
So until the DEP issue gets solved, those buildings are gonna stay in limbo.
Well, so there are very different issues though. The way you solve the DEP issue with the Carboy building is you leave the footprint of the original building and build something cool, funky there, repurposed. And where the uplands are up on Park Avenue, higher up, you can still put some housing there. You put a small building there, a couple stories, that's dry, out of the foot.
Right.
Okay, so you can outplay the DEP there. The Captiva building, it could be the store. That's a very different issue. According to the redeveloper who came to the planning board a couple months ago. So under state law, if you don't build what you said you're gonna build, you got 5 years to build it, you lose your approvals.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how long is that?
5 years, you
5
lose your approval. That's what happened up at the site up here in the Cutcliffe. Lost their approvals. And the town seized their water and sewer.
Cited where?
Cutcliffe. Cutcliffe's never built and they lost all their
Okay.
approvals, so they have to start from scratch.
That's why we have a vacant lot there.
Correct. So the Guitar Boy building, I'm sorry, the Captiva building, the store, was at the point of losing its approvals. And so they came to the planning board. And what they expressed publicly, so I'm not saying anything that's not public information, is that when they looked at the FEMA maps, the floodplain maps, there's, you know, the creek runs right along there. I think it's part of the copper mine that goes out to the river. When FEMA did all their remapping in 1997, and then they remapped again after Hurricane Ida, they never mapped that section of the borough. It was missed totally. I don't know why, but that's what they claim. So they approached FEMA and FEMA said, well, you guys paid for that. And we'll take a look. So they've got hydrologists and engineers and engineers and hydrologists and hydrological engineers remapping that. If they can prove that it's not in the floodplain, that they can, their hydrology or whatever they're doing there, they've got approval from the planning board to build what they want to build.
Maybe 4 stories, 100 unit apartment.
It's hard with nothing to the borough. Now, here's the hook. They never negotiated a pilot. Ever. Now, a smart governing body would say, we don't like this project, we want less, it's too intense. You know, because the parking, I mean, there's all, parking is supposed to be underground if it does flood. There are serious laws under the DEP about calling, it's called safe egress. You have to guarantee everybody parking someplace has safe egress if you build new.
Right.
Right, for instance, the guitar wood, right? You know, they don't have to have a pilot. They don't have to have a pilot, they can pay full taxes. They can clean up the whole site and pay full taxes. Or they can
Is
negotiate.
that better for you?
For me personally?
The borough.
Well, I mean, that was the problem with Liberty Village. Liberty Village wanted to put in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of more apartments. And my predecessor was all gang on all of them. And then the DP says, it's called flip them. He had to come back to the table. Benefited the borough. Let me tell you so here's the difference with what was approved by the borough in 2022, what was approved by the borough in 2024, right? The difference between the driver administration and the Carroll administration, and Jeremy, open-minded to a T on, if he inherently knew something was wrong with the Liberty site. Knew it, okay? So they negotiated the Allies building to be deed restricted to a municipal, deed restricted, could never not be a municipal building. That's insane, insane. Okay, all of us stuck with it forever, right? There isn't a single piece of borough property that we own that we're stuck with forever. That gone, now it can be sold by the borough, and that money can be used into the general fund for anything you want, $800,000. That's about 20 cents on your taxes for free. It's a lot of money, okay? Driver administration negotiated $750,000 upfront when the development started, $250,000 at the end. Carroll administration, $1.75 million upfront. So it's $750,000 more upfront. Okay. And $135,000 towards the acquisition of an easement, engineering design, and DEP permitting for another well. To be given, I think it's 6 months in or something like, they're all like dated, whatever. Okay. Driver administration, it was 167 townhouses. Carroll administration, 117. Driver administration, sadly, 12 veterans homes and 12, help me. With special needs homes, we lost the special needs homes, still got the 12 veterans homes. And driver administration, 250 more apartments. Carroll administration, gone. Carroll, and then on top of it, Carroll administration thought Liberty Village will be an HOA. They will be responsible for their own garbage, their own roads, their own electricity, their lighting, and everything else, all under this ordinance saying, as long as you're getting a pilot, getting free, and they'll maintain the roads and the landscape forever. Driver administration negotiated a detention basin to take some of the flooding off of Main Street. And a park to be named later, pocket park to be named later. Both of those things are still in there. So there is, and the park is right on Brown Street.
Yeah, it looks nice.
So it's a huge, I mean, it's hugely different. Now I have negotiated pilots in my past lives. So I came in with the experience. And I'll also tell you, the difference is, I am a patient person. I have lived here my whole life. I have watched ebbs and flows in Flemington my entire life. This is not the first time Main Street was down and out. And I know the value of this town. I know the value of this town. Like I think a lot was given away to the Union Hotel project. I think that there was some desperation. Nobody can smell desperation in an elected official more than a redeveloper ever. And I am not desperate because I know the value of sound. I've watched it happen my entire life. That's an advantage. But it's not necessarily shared with the government. We have a very young governing body. Susan Engelhardt's been here for 30 something years or 40 years.
25, 30, yeah,
25, 30?
27, something like, maybe close to 30.
Okay, I mean, the rest of the governing body put together, not counting Brandon, but Brandon was born and raised here, he's
Right.
24. But I mean, you've been here for 14.
Right, yeah,
Trent like 7, Tony like 7, Adrian like 7.
it's probably been
I mean, not that matters, but it's
Sure.
about watching what's happened to the town, right? That's the difference. I've seen it. I've
And-
seen it be derelict. I've seen it come back. I've seen it be derelict. I've seen it come back.
and something I've noticed, because I've been in these two administrative different things, decisions. So Union Hotel, one pattern I noticed is, okay, so one mayor negotiates this project, and then the next mayor comes in, is like, let's texture this,
Ugh.
right? So what the Grimer administration made decisions with Union Hotel, and then the Driver administration came in and we did different things then. You come in, we did different things with Liberty Village. It seemed that's a pattern I've noticed. Now, let's say Marcia Caro says, well, we're going to do this development. I'm not sure that's going to happen under your watch, or if it's something cool, great. But then maybe that doesn't work. So then, let's say Marcia Caro, there's another mayor after Marcia. And then that person says, I don't know, we should texture this. There might be some things we need to fix up. We didn't think about this, that, the other thing. So it's
But that only works with redevelopment. It doesn't work with development.
right. Yeah. So, but that's the thing. It's this, it's a,
And at this point, I don't
Pretty
think
simple.
that, there's whispers out there about cut class, about it becoming a redevelopment site. I don't think the community in Flemington had the appetite to do another pilot. I really don't, because we've got a lot. We've got redevelopment projects up the wazoo. And,
Take out the weed, just make it a park. You can use the quiet.
we can't afford the non-readables. Now we need the readables. So whatever it is, right? The original cut glass site was approved for retail on Main Street. And I believe 87 condo townhouse units between Main and Broad. And then there was a bunch of small houses that would look the same as William Street, small houses with larger houses behind it. That was what it was originally, total of 87 houses. The planning board talked about that site, maybe 2 years ago, talked about extending Broad Street's retail, because there's a business now, right? There's the Blue Ox site, Teresa's and all that. There's a dentist office. Across the street, there's offices. So there was discussion about extending more retail down Broad, just making it a little longer to support, those residents, give it a little bit more pocket retail, pocket office, whatever. And then, maybe about the same amount, housing, 87 units or something like that. But, the council is the council, and they just, put through more housing in Flemington 42 months ago. Including allowing apartments to be built in parking lots, which one of the council members calls infill housing. But, it's just a euphemism for shove it wherever you can get it. As far, look, I am blaming it to happen. I don't make any politics for it. I have been running against housing and for preservation and protection of the assets of this county since 1993. Nothing has changed. My campaign literature in 2022 was blunt about how I feel about high density housing and extra housing in Flemington, especially apartments. I'm anything against renters. I really don't. When they're here, right? I have a thing about more apartments. We're at 63% right now apartments. 63%. And that's before Captiva, and that's before Guitar Boy, before the two Agri Suites. And that's before counting what's coming in at Spice Factory, which is now leasing. And it's before counting the 205 apartments at the Union Hotel. We are at 63% apartments. That is the same as most municipalities in Hudson County and Essex County. When the Union Hotel opens and when the Spice Factory opens, we will be at the same level of housing in Elizabeth, percentage-wise, in a rural county, rural suburban county. Our tax assessor says, told the council, we should be at less than 30% apartments. He said about 27%. We are at 63% and climbing, and climbing. It's not good.
What's the impact?
The impact, yeah,
I was curious, I was like, this might be stupid, but like,
there's a.
why should it be 27%? Like, says who? I'm just.
Says our taxes. Based on, the size of the community, the positioning of the community. I mean, most municipalities in Hardin County have below 25% apartments. Most have below 10% apartments, and Flemington's got 63%. So what's the impact? The impact when you put that kind of density in is that you need more police, you have more kids, you need more police, you need more fire, you need more expensive fire equipment. You've got to have the ladder trucks, which the current ladder truck we just bought was $1.6 million. You can't get volunteers for the fire department now, right? River Township has more trouble putting together a crew than Flemington Borough had. And there are we backed them up, the hospital, the high school, all over River Township. And they're supposed to back us up, and they can't put together a crew. We have trouble. We only have 3 drivers for our fire department right now. You want to do a public service? Get somebody to volunteer for our fire department, especially as a driver, because we can't deal with them. People work, they're not here anymore. And, I'm sorry, there's tons of studies. People who live in apartments, they don't volunteer for community the way people who live in single family homes. I'm not saying they all don't. I mean, Councilman Levitt lives in an apartment. He's on the council. God bless him. But if I look at every single one of my commissions, committees, and boards, every one of them, I don't have a single apartment person on them. Not one. Not when I have targeted apartment people that I know to go on the boards. I have not gotten one. And it was like that before I got on. Before I was mayor. Not one board or committee or commission has a single renter. The only volunteer renter we have is Councilman Levitt. That's it. And that's the impact. What is the impact? That's the impact. They're not vested in the community as property owners. They're just not. And there are studies that say that. This is not me making it up. I mean, there are studies that say it. So.
But
Yeah.
do the apartments affect the tax revenue? Because the
No.
landlord's still paying tax.
Yes, it
So
does not.
that should be a lot.
It's a wash.
Okay.
And some might even argue that a high rise apartment will pay more in taxes, but it costs more in services.
Right.
Okay. I mean, for every dollar a piece of open space, open space preservation, every dollar that a farmer pays for his farm in taxes, it costs a municipality like 40 cents. Industry, if you're lucky enough to have industry, for every dollar industry pays in taxes, it costs a borough 36 cents. Retail, it's 82 cents. A single family home, it's over $1.80. For every dollar they pay, it's $1.80 in taxes. I mean, it's just a fact. Industry, commercial farmers, they don't use parks. There's no striping, there's no equipment, there's no insurance. Very few calls, calls for commerce, for police, for shoplifting, but not a lot of heart attacks happening with the rescue squad, fire service for people burning candles. And we had 2 bad fires in Flemington this year, both from candles, right? Not in commercial buildings. I mean, it's a hard fact. Single, homes, apartments, cost. And both of them, by the way, were apartments. Both those candle fires were apartments. The hard fact is they cost a lot of money in services. It has to be made up somewhere. So it's either made up by having more commercial and more industrial or higher taxes. One or the other. Got to choose. So I'm not anti-housing. I'm it's kind of density on apartments because we can't offset it with the volunteers that we need and the services that it requires. We just can't. I mean, where somebody asked about the police thing, a lot of that is driven by population. These formulas are like, well, you have so many people, you now need another cop, whether you need them or not. The cops will tell you, oh yeah, we need another cop. So you keep putting in apartments and apartments and apartments. 1 acre, I mean, my single family home's on 1 acre. I mean, I have a big lot, Flemington. but it's a single family home. My calls to the police department, I've been in my house since 2005. My calls to the police department, the fire department, the rescue squad in 20 years is one, my partner, my deceased partner who fell and I couldn't get him off the floor to the rescue squad, and one by my deceased partner for me because I was attacked by a rabid raccoon. And he had me taken because he wanted to go to the neighborhood because it was 5:30 in the morning on a school day and I worked in the neighborhood. This raccoon was out there. So he sent it off by the rescue squad. Not one police call, not one fire department call. Single family home on 1 acre. What about an apartment? 1 acre, 100 apartments, you think that they're gonna, in 20 years, 2 calls?
What's the school kid population expected to be?
I don't know.
It's been going down.
Yeah.
That's why we're so surprised when we got the assessment about Liberty Village. It's like, really? That's it? We thought it'd be more.
Yep.
It's just,
So we're going to stable back to 12, get blocked off
I don't
a
know.
long time.
He's,
It's a pain in the ass to have.
so George, there were 6 planning board hearings. Stangle Road has some ownership issues on it. Easement issues and ownership issues as to who owns what part of Stangle. Some of it says the borough, some of it says he owns some of it. And so, 6 planning board hearings, 6 times I asked the question to George, when are we gonna deal with the ownership issues? And he kept saying, well, when I need to, we'll deal with it later. I just need to get my approvals. So he got all of the approvals. He started all the demolition. And we're at a hard stop right now because we can deal with those issues. So I got a conference call Friday afternoon for the municipal side to figure out what we're looking for, because we have some concerns, right? So homeowners association is supposed to have the road plowed.
Right.
My DPW is concerned that if their plow guy doesn't show up, that's an emergency route between Mine Street and Route 12, right? DPW also wants to make sure they have an easement on the road. So if there's sewer water breakages, they can go straight down and not go off the highway, right? So the municipal side's got a little meeting between the engineer, our attorney, and me, so that we can then sit down and talk to George and say, all right, this is what we want. Because he just refused to do it. He refused. So now he's like, and not only that, we have a well house there. And he was supposed to deal with the elevations of the well house to make sure that his elevations weren't going to flood our well with salt water, from the storms. Didn't deal with that either. Our engineer wrote him a massive letter 4 months ago, asking him a gazillion questions about that. They never responded to it. Now George is like calling me every 5 hours.
Answer the damn letter, George, then I'll respond.
Well, he keeps saying, we called your engineer yesterday and you never called back. Well, we wrote to you 4 months ago and you never called back. This is like, but that's George, right? This is George. This is 3 years of George, where if he wants it yesterday. If we need it, it waits months.
The sunset on it.
So, yes, I'm talking to him tomorrow. So that's what that is. He's always, but he's, but he negotiated. He was very good to the borough. Ultimately, we've gotten, millions of dollars in gifts from him when we get it, and it's going to be a nice project. And we were very firm on the finishes, those the townhouses, and they're going to be really effective. I think it's 6 different finishes, no 2 can be near each other. It's going to be they're going to be pretty units. So I think it's going to be overall, it's going to be a real nice asset to have townhouses, which are sort of like a starter home. They're more desirable than what he was originally going to do. It's going to be these crazy 3-story buildings where the first floor and half of the second floor are going to be one townhouse, and part of the second floor and the third floor is going to be another townhouse. That's very urban. That is not Flemington's market. So we made him change it, and he's got a builder, DR Horton, who goes all over the country, who, he's really anxious to start because he says this is super hot right now. What we require is super hot. And it's I think what Flemington needs is more, these are single family homes. Townhouses, they're attached, they're still single family, but there's 117 of them. It still doesn't change the balance. right? Because the spice factory alone wipes out what he's doing.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think what Liberty Village offers is what I personally look at is a diversity. You know, we want a diversity of housing.
We do.
Right? We truly do. And whatever ends up happening next, you know, hopefully there is that commitment to that diversity, right? So, oh, we've never had townhouses. Well, now
Right.
we do.
I personally love to see ranch housing, but that is so not profitable for builders, you know? But there's such a market, I can't even tell you how many people call me asking me about ranch houses. People want to wait agents in this community. That is one of these people, right? I mean, I've had real estate, I get hit by real estate agents weekly because I live in a ranch, asking me if I want to sell my house. It's crazy. And I would love to see, like, I mean, I would be all thumbs up if Cut Glass wanted to put in small ranch houses. I mean, all in, but it's like, you know, building up indeed is, you know, what everybody wants to do. But I agree with Jeremy. I mean, the diversity of housing, Jeremy lives on Abbott. They're small, adorable little houses. I mean, those things flip so fast, and not that anything in this town doesn't flip fast. But one of the reasons the single family homes flip so fast is because there's so few of them. A lot of the single family homes that people think are single family homes are actually cut Victorian with apartments. And that's why our single family homes, why they're exponentially going up in value, why they flip so quickly. And it's, you know, great if you're a single family homeowner who wants to sell, but, you know, you're a renter who wants to buy. Right. So,
Well, the cost of making a piece of land available to build on is so high that the builders, developers they have a ratio they have to meet. And that's why the houses are so expensive, because you start with a piece of land that's $150,000, $200,000, you're not gonna build a $50,000 structure on. And that's the economics. I mean, I've read that 35% of the cost of a house today in New Jersey can be as much as red tape.
well, I mean, there's a lot of regulations in the state. And because of that's why part of the problem is get these outside redevelopers. Like the guy from Captiva, who's never built anything, he's a finance guy. Cardinal, the guitar boy guy who lives in Ohio. They come out here going, oh yeah, I'm gonna build in New Jersey.
Captiva, Agway?
It's the Captiva is the Agway store.
Okay.
That's the one where the financial guy is on down. He's never built anything in his life. And then the guitar boy building is a guy from Ohio who's only built assisted living facilities. It's like you think you're gonna build in New Jersey and you don't know what you're doing in New Jersey? It's not gonna happen. You know, I mean, George has built all over New Jersey, so, you know.
Now, he gonna build with Grand Bridge? parking lot?
No, that's
Permanent?
permanent flood, it's gonna be a massive, I believe, 3-acre detention basin.
In
Now,
the beginning, that was gonna be phase 2,
yes, that was gonna be 250 apartments,
right?
exactly.
And that's not gonna be there.
And then George thinks that he's gonna come up with some kind of scheme where he's gonna widen the Raritan River up on the War property, the creek up there, the copper mine that goes out to the Raritan. He thinks he's gonna get permission from the DEP to widen the creek and under land trust, where it's all preserved land, which therefore also would need Green Acres approval to hold more water, and that the DEP will lift his detention basin requirement and he's gonna build another phase. And I talked to the head of permitting DEP, who I've known for 20 years, and he said it's a permanent permit. He can never remove the detention basin. And Hunter Land Trust said to me, we've told him no 4 times. So he can walk from our land, and he keeps telling people he's gonna do. They said, we will lose all credibility.
Sounds like Donald Trump.
He said, we'll lose all credibility as an environmental trust if we even entertain anybody coming on to widen the creek to build more housing. So, you know, George is George. God love him.
Well, it's an interesting thing to deal with all of that. These
Yeah.
developers, redevelopers, this, all this stuff, but I just gotta let you know, we only have this place till 9. Unfortunately. But look, look, it's been great
Yes.
for the last one. It was a lot of stuff.
If you have more questions,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
just email me on
And
my.
thank you, Marcia.
I should have brought cards with my phone number, but I mean, I'll give you all my cell phone. I give it out, so if you want it, I'll give it to you. Otherwise, you can email me on the website and I'll call you or email you.